And welcome back to the Advent series, where today we are on the first Tuesday of Advent, November 29th. If anyone were to lay their blame before God, we'd come up short. We just couldn't understand. And how can we? We're limited creatures with intellect the size of a grain of sand compared to the eternity that is God. And we can rage and rant against the Almighty until we're blue in the face, but in the end, nothing will happen. I mean, what can happen? We can endure all the suffering a human could take, and it could all be a test to make us better, and maybe we come out on the other side either better or worse. But we are still sore at having been put through the ringer for what seems as no apparent reason. Reading the book of Job brings about no comfort whatsoever. If there's a lesson that ought to bring closure, it fails spectacularly. Is it that God could be so easily duped by Satan into playing his game? Or does God suffer from the sin of pride as the fallen one? Has God then been reduced to the level of all other deities, equally fatuous and petty and prone to exaggerated tantrums when questioned and refusing to justify their actions? Job, on the other hand, is just expected to take it and go with it. I mean, I suppose we all have to accept it. We just want a little comfort in this morbid world, a certain assurance. As material beings, we need assurance in like manner to feel certain. But the only assurance we can get is in the abstract. Trust and fear God. I mean, how much more abstract can you get? Are we then like Lazarus, sitting by the side of the table as God munches away and tosses the scraps to the floor, and we praise him for giving us the barely masticated scraps and engorge them? And we give thanks and praise every Sunday, sermon and Eucharist, to announce our gratitude to God for letting us live another day without any incident. But Jesus did say the people who suffered calamity were no worse sinners, and yet they were the unfortunate victims of circumstance. We ought to make right our affairs because we too could go the next day. And yet, we rant and rage against God when it happens because we deem it unfair. And if he is omnipotent, could he have prevented it? Or is he just plain sadistic and let things happen because it's a corrective measure for us? Again, it goes back to Job. When the material's taken away, all we're left with is the abstract, and we're expected to draw comfort from it. Sometimes, it is that very thing that comforts us. It can't be destroyed, wear out, or outlive its usefulness. It is always there, readily accessible, and strangely enough, we can never tire of it. We can try to ask God to rationalize what happened, but we won't get an answer. I've long given up on that. I thought for a while God suffered from pride, but was too proud to say anything. But it's a pointless endeavor because in the end it's irrelevant. I mean, we cannot justify or rationalize it because it's an exercise that gets us nowhere. So we are either left with the choices to either trust God or abandon him. Some go for the former and others for the latter, a sentiment that's been growing in the past few years. We may demand recompense, either material or abstract, and if we don't get it, we rage and rant. We may get a facsimile of what we're asking, the scraps, and in the end we may have to satisfy ourselves with it.